My guest today is a vower of lifelong dedication to the guitar. He made an extreme leapfrog from his high school days to being truly one of the best heavy-sounding X-Men out there. Whether he's laying down progressive sonic Dorje, unleashing instrumental Tosca with his fretwork, or channeling his inner Totemist to craft sonic landscapes, his playing always strikes a chord with fans. Welcome to this episode, Rabea Massaad.
How's it going, man?
Yeah, I was about to ask you the same thing.
I'm okay. It's the second day of tour, so we're still all bright-eyed and ready to go.
You just told me, I don't know if you mind this, but you said, we're staying in a hostel. And I told you, in 30 years, you're going to romanticize this. Do you sometimes think that?
Yeah. I mean, because touring with Frog Leap is always on a tour bus. It's nice. You have a bed, you have like all the niceties that you have with a band like that. And because Vower is very early stages, we're saving all the money we can by doing things like that. You know, we're driving ourselves, staying in a hostel, doing it like we used to do when we started out 10 years, 15 years ago. So it's nice.
Now, how does that feel? Because I can imagine, I say you romanticize it maybe later on, but do you manage to do that in the moment too?
Yeah, it's interesting this time around because I could romanticize about doing that with Tosca back in the day.
Yeah.
Or Dorje, you know, when we were in vans, staying in cheap hotels, doing it that way.
Yeah.
And then moving across to Tosca doing better, you know, joining Frog Leap, which is much more bigger scale project. So you get tour buses, like I say, nice tour buses, nice beds, bigger venues, really nice catering. Everything's looked after. Have a crew that load all your gear in, like set it up, take it down. All you do is play. That's really nice. So I can already romanticize about 15 years ago. And now I'm reliving that same thing now with Vower.
Yeah.
But it's nice because I don't know, it feels good to be at this stage again because, you know, with Vower, we plan on taking it as far as we can. So hopefully this will be a short-lived but enjoyable part of the journey.
Is it because I can imagine with Vower, you're in, like you said, in the beginning, so to say, important to have that feeling like we're building towards something.
Yeah, very much so, because all the members from the band have been in previously established bands.
Yeah.
So we've all, to varying degrees of success. So the acceleration of the project's been quite quick, which is nice, you know, selling out over half this tour, getting some great festival slots already for this year, Download, 2000 Trees, Arctangent, some really cool festival slots. So, you know, at this stage, it's really nice to soak up all of these moments, you know, playing in venues, small venues with low ceilings and little PA systems and stuff, and just getting sweaty and doing it that way. Because hopefully, you know, if we do it properly, we'll be accelerating to bigger venues within this year and see where it goes. So, but it is starting out, you know, very much so.
But having to have a goal, is that something in your life that you always thought like that really helped? Or maybe not at all.
When I left school,
throughout
high school, I had no direction. Not until starting to play guitar, and then the vague direction was, guitar's fun. It doesn't feel like work. So I never enjoyed working, school, maths. You know, I never enjoyed academia or anything unless it was something that I had fun doing. So there was art, painting, drawing, that kind of thing. Really enjoyed that from a young age. So I tried hard in that, did well, got good grades. Same with music when I discovered music, but maths, science, English, geography, that was all terrible. I failed all of those. So leaving school was like, I'm going to do music, I think, because that's the most fun for me. And then joining a music college, thinking that was the right thing to do, but still it was academia. So I wasn't working very hard. I just wanted to play guitar. So I didn't care about the grades. So I still didn't really have a direction till I found the band, my first band we took seriously. And then that was the goal, was to try and do music on some professional landscape. And I think that was the beginning of setting a goal.
But can you say then, because that's in the band is some sort of vehicle for having a goal, that you need people around you, so to say, to see that goal then?
Yeah, you need to have a common goal with the people you're doing it with, particularly because it takes a lot of time. You invest a lot of time, energy, passion, creativity. There's just a lot that you put into a band.
Yeah.
And creating together. We lived together, had to work full-time jobs and do all that kind of stuff and do the band on the evenings and then gig on the weekend. So you have to put a lot of trust in each other to do it. So yeah, it's really important that you find people with a common goal, definitely. And that evolves, people's goal posts change.
So that being in a band was always, though, that you thought that's what really drives me.
Yeah, 100%. The whole time that I've been trying to do music as a career and a lifestyle, the whole time it's been around bands, creating songs, writing music. The content creation side came way later on after meeting Rob Chapman, because he introduced me to the idea that you can earn a living playing music or doing music, or basically have a career in music without necessarily needing to have a band that gets signed and gets his record deal. And I suppose the way that I looked at that was, maybe I can do both. Maybe I could have my bands. Maybe I can do this other stuff, content creation, YouTube, whatever, as a way to fund my life. And then I can actually take the pressure off the make or break, which is a blessing and a curse, because having that make or break attitude with being in a band makes you try really, really hard, because that's, you have to do it, But at the same time, I think I've always had that focus in my mind anyway, in my heart, to be in a band, write music. So that's always been the focus. And then the content creation came to help me build the whole thing up. And I guess I've tried the whole time to do both together the whole time.
Is it difficult to have a balance between those? Because I can imagine your heart is, well, probably at both, but still, they eat each other's time, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to invest time in both, obviously. One, it requires the whole band to invest the same time. So you're on tour, you have to invest the time writing, rehearsals, all that stuff. But then the YouTube content creator stuff, you have to invest time in it. You have to be consistent and put out the videos and stuff to build it up. And that I did put a lot of focus and energy into it for a few years to establish myself in that part of the industry, or whatever you want to call it, so that I was able to continue getting more work and continue working with brands. And I can safely say that I think the majority of my career and where I've got to with stuff has been through putting a lot of emphasis in that world, getting to work with Victory amps to create the Kraken, bare knuckle pickups, Chapman guitars, now Music Man, all these things.
Neural, of course.
Yeah, of course, Neural. Like, all these things have come through creating a community where people sort of enjoy what I do as a guitarist, but also trust how I feel about tone and how I feel about equipment and the process in and around that. Again, blessing and a curse, because when you achieve certain milestones in your career, whether it's with your band or as an artist personally, whether it's been as an instrumental guitar player, for example, the most recent thing, working with Music Man, having my own model. Yeah. It's obviously an incredible opportunity, and something that I still think is crazy that has happened for me.
I see it in your eyes, right? They start to.
But it's funny how people still perceive me, and it doesn't really bother me as such. Not many things do in my life, but it is funny to see the comments where people still associate Andertons or Demo Guy or stuff like that, and haven't necessarily taken any time, which they don't need to. I can't control what people see of me on the internet, but it is funny to see that's how they perceive me, as still just some demo guy that gets a signature Music Man, when really it's like, there's plenty of stuff out there if you were to go and look, but it is what it is.
And if you'll listen to it, like you mentioned tone, and I said in the intro as well, one of the best sounding X-Men out there. For me, if I listen to your music or your guitar sound, the first thing that pops up with me is like, it sounds so good.
Thanks.
But when did you starting to realize, okay, you have the scales and you have the riffs and all, but when did you start to realize what I do has to sound really good?
I, I I don't think I ever thought about it like that, like it has to sound good. I think I always kind of approached things like it's as simple as thinking to yourself, oh, that sounds nice. I'm going to play more like that.
Yeah.
And then it's just that. It's very simple. And I think it's also having the idea of, let me say, maybe one of my favorite bands is Carnival, right?
Yeah.
And when I listen to their kind of delay, reverb soaked, low gain tone, the way that sounds is really nice to me. So in my own rig, in my own equipment, in my own time playing at home, I'm going to try and create a sound with my equipment that gives me the same feeling I have when I listen to that. Could be the same when I hear Nuno Bettencourt playing lead, or Joe Satriani, or Meshuggah playing riffs, or any of the music I listen to that I enjoy. If I'm trying to play in that way, if I'm feeling ambient, I'm going to go ahead and find sounds that give me that sort of feeling that make me feel comfortable, like the way I am when I listen to those other sounds.
It's interesting to me you mentioned the word feeling constantly. So tone and sound, it can't be a thing of the head, right? Like it has. So maybe my question, if I come back to that, you probably didn't think about it. You just felt.
Yeah, it's and I think there's a lot of people that are on the same page with me with that, is that it's all about how it makes you feel when you play. Because, and you may not notice it sometimes, but you might get given a guitar and an amp in a situation where you set to play and it feels not good. And you can't understand why you're not playing right.
Yeah.
Whether it's the response of the amp or the action on the guitar or the pickups, the way they respond to, and you can't understand it. And it's like really stressful, especially if you have a limited understanding of that side of it. And it's one of those things where, like, the more that you explore what it is that makes you feel good about playing different tone and different sounds, the easier it is to sort of pinpoint the things you like and what makes you feel good when you play. And I think that's really important.
But that feeling you just mentioned, I think a lot of guitar players recognize that. Is it also that you will have to take good care of yourself, that you have to feel good yourself to be as relaxed, so the guitar will give you what you expect, or what? Or what's your approach on that?
I think I can definitely remember times where I felt not good, but I sit to play and that's where I get the feelings out, if you know what I mean. And as hippie as that sounds, whatever, but I think musicians and creative people in general can agree that you can vent your emotions and feelings through the medium that excites you, whether it's music, art, dance, whatever, it is. But I also think, if you're like really stressed for the day, or you're really angry about something, it might not be the most conducive mindset to sit and create something great.
Then you'll think, what's wrong with the guitar?
Yeah, it depends. There is a sliding scale, but I do think at the same time, you can be in a certain mindset, whether it's sad or whatever, or whatever it might be, not necessarily a happy feeling, but that can also be sometimes a good way to go into, like, therapeutic, isn't it? It's like therapy sometimes to sit and explore your instrument.
Just as a meditation, right?
Yeah.
Just as something that just feels good.
Like, I've fallen out with friends, or like had an argument with my girlfriend or whatever, and then I've gone to play guitar and ended up writing a song, and it being not connected to that event, but that event was able to at least unlock something that sort of fed into being creative.
Is it maybe also that it's some sort of treat to yourself, because you create time for yourself, right? Sitting down with the guitar, it's just for you also, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you relate to that?
Yeah, definitely. Over the years, it's been an up and down feeling, because, as I mentioned before, doing a lot of gear demos and a lot of that side of things, it started to feel like work. And I'm not complaining, it was a great job to have, but it started to feel like a job. So I started to lose the the lines started to become blurred between when I'm sitting for me and when I'm sitting to make a video or talk about a piece of gear. And it's been a weird thing that, particularly when the pandemic happened, that was the turning point when I realized, for the most part, I think I'm done with like lots of gear demonstration and all that side of stuff. Like, I still like to dabble in the products and the brands that I'm friends with and that make cool stuff. Strymon, Origin Effects, Boss, there's a few brands. But overall, I need to get back I'm playing guitar for me. I'm sitting down to play for myself and for being creative and that sort of stuff. And it's been an interesting couple of years of refinding that, reigniting that passion. I can honestly say there's plenty of times in the last 2 years, maybe more, where I just kind of been going through the motions and maybe neglected that original fiery passion for playing. Not for writing, not for being in a band, not for writing songs. Like, the other stuff still stays, but like, it's almost compartmentalized for me as music. It's like, I'm going to play guitar, shred, licks, improvisation, soloing over changes, the guitar player thing. Then there's the band guitarist. Then there's the instrumental guitarist. There are these different areas. And the one that sort of suffered over the last few years was definitely the player, like, just didn't feel like pursuing being a technical guitarist and exploring that world. But that's definitely changed in the last year, maybe.
So what helps you to give that little bit more breathing space, that part of you as a musician?
I think being around people that are doing it, that are really still passionately interested in it. And a good time for that is somewhere like the NAMM show.
Yeah.
Because you're surrounded by people that are like that. Particularly a couple of guys that I was talking to while I was there. Like, his name's Spiro, I think. And he's getting a lot of attention right now because he's frighteningly technical. But it was interesting because he's younger than me. He's about 10 years younger than I. He's 26. I'm 36. I was talking to him. And his almost childlike passion and excitement for the instrument reignited something in me. I was like, I remember that, like, burning desire to be the best that I could be at that part of guitar playing. And then also, hanging with Jack Gardner, who's an incredible player.
And he's really friendly.
He's a good friend of mine,
human being altogether, right?
And, just talking with him about guitar playing and trying to get into his head a little bit about how he sees the fretboard and stuff like that has been quite helpful to just start wanting to explore it myself again more than getting to a certain point with playing and then feeling comfortable and being able to do what you want to do, but not maybe advancing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can imagine. And such a event like NAMM, you're all in it together, right? I mean, they all have walked a similar path, so to say. So people come from different directions, of course, but I can imagine that must help.
Yeah, it did. I came back and I was just playing for a few hours a day, which I haven't done for a long time.
But I hope you can maintain that feeling for a long time. I talked with Scott Henderson last week, and he's 70. And he also said it has to be fun. I need that feeling. I need it to be fun. And still, he's in his 70s, and he's still pursuing that. So I can imagine that's a very important thing to give a little bit of breathing space, right?
Yeah, you do. And in a way, it's been good to not want to pursue that side of guitar playing for me as much as maybe writing more songs, because you can't do it all at the same time, I believe. You can't be writing all sorts of great songs, but at the same time as putting all your energy and creative energy into that, then being incredible at coming up with new licks and techniques. And, I feel like, and then at the same time is like putting all your eggs into solo guitarist basket. Like, I think there has to be these times to designate your creative energy too. And I've always wanted to keep my finger in the songwriting side of things, whether it's instrumental music or with the band or whatever, over the last couple of years with the couple of Totemist EPs or my own stuff, or now Vower, so yeah. But I do think it's good to take a bit of time away from certain aspects that aren't maybe giving you as much fulfillment.
want to rewind a little bit to the young Rabea.
Okay.
I heard you mention the word obsessed, and that's a word a lot of guitars in this series mention.
Yeah,
I was obsessed. What if you think about that word and you as a young guitar player? Can you describe a little bit how that look like?
The easiest way for me to describe it would be that you recognize that you're making progress quick. Obviously it's fun and all that stuff, but there is a point where you pick up the instrument and you're, trying to play it, trying to learn, but something about it feels like it makes sense, even though you can't put your finger on what it is. Whether it's the fact that, I'm able to like do stuff. Because I started playing very briefly when I was young, 11, something like that, for a bit, just a couple of bar chords or whatever. And then I put the guitar down, and then it was drums. And then doing my skateboard injury around 16, picking the guitar back up again out of sheer boredom and something to do, was that because I'd played drums, I had rhythm, had timing. And I think that's a great example of recognizing, oh, hang on a minute, I'm holding chords, but I'm keeping time. And suddenly you're like, this isn't actually, that initial hurdle kind of wasn't there for me in that respect. But it applies to any guitarist, that it's that idea that you're progressing quicker, it's making sense to you. And that's where the obsession starts. Because you're like, well, this is making sense. I'm able to get the results that I'm after quickly. And then you go, well, what's next? Well, what's next? Well, what next? And that becomes this hunger to take in as much as possible. Like this guy that handed me the Master of Puppets tab book. Not that I remember thinking, this tabs, I'm looking at the tabs like I have no idea what I'm looking at. And listening to the Master of Puppets CD and being like, I think I can get my head around this, And then like I remember looking in the tab book and like listening to like the guitar solo in, is it Sanitarium? I think it's I think that's on Master of Puppets, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the way it starts and then looking at whatever fret number it said and starting there, and then kind of getting annoyed that the tab wasn't making sense, but it had at least given me a nudge going, oh, you need to start the solo here.
Yeah.
And then I was forcing myself to transcribe with my ears, and then that developing, and then being able to get through the solo and going, I can't believe I've just done that. That felt amazing. And then the feeling of getting through the solo, it's all I'm doing is just reiterating the point that the more progress you make, the more obsessed you become, because you want to move on to the next.
It becomes a bit of addictive as well, I can imagine.
Exactly.
Right?
And then
because it gives you the whole time.
Yeah, you're getting back the energy, the feeling you get back when you feel satisfied and proud of yourself for overcoming those moments is the thing that it gives you for putting in the effort. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I recognize, I don't know when exactly what was your steepest learning curve. For me, it was when I was 16, 17. And then I felt like things became like this, and I know that feeling. And in your teens, you're vulnerable, right? And something like that is very important.
Yeah, the steep learning curve for me would have been, there were two distinctive ones. One was when my dad bought me this book that was like rock lead techniques, but he accidentally bought the masterclass level instead of beginner.
Yeah.
And it was just immediately like, this is all really hard, but I have no choice. I'm just going to give it a go. And so the learning curve was very high. It's teaching you hybrid picking, sweep picking.
So it didn't put you off. You're like,
no,
I can do this.
Yeah, I that's how I felt about it. And also I felt like I can't let my dad down. He bought me this book and but there was that. And I wasn't able to learn all of it at the time because there was some really hard stuff in there that my hands and muscle memory and stuff wasn't developed. My technique was still really... But then, because it used to break down solos for you into like exercises, and then it would put them all together into a backing track, and you had to get you all your way from A to Z. And that was a really satisfying feeling when you make it to the end. It was that, and then it was realizing that I wanted to learn extreme songs. It's like, I want to learn Porno Graffiti, I want to learn 3 Sides to Every Story, and obsessing it like...
What about it was so appealing to you?
Just the flavor of the note choice, the attitude in the playing. Like, I mean, Extreme are cool. I like the band, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't just listening to the guitar work most of the time. You know, like just the groove, the rhythm. I responded to the rhythm because of the drumming background, but also like just the little licks here and there that you got that kind of playing from Eddie and people like that. But I didn't know that at the time. You know, I never listened to Van Halen when I was younger. I was very like in the world of guitar icons that people say is education, shreducation, or whatever you want to call it, when you learn. I was kind of sheltered. I was just took on board what my dad was into. So the Eagles, Extreme, you know, Richie Blackmore, Dave Gilmour, like just his favorite stuff that I listened to. Like he wasn't big on Hendrix. I didn't really listen to Hendrix. He wasn't massive on Led Zeppelin. I didn't really listen to Led Zeppelin. You know, it's that kind of thing. I learned all that stuff later on. But Extreme, just had the groove, the attitude, the solos that he's a craftsman of the wow factor in a solo, where you start melodic, build it up, you do something wild that makes you go, I have no idea what I just heard, and then rounding it off, you know?
To me, part of it is also like, how can it seem so effortless?
Yeah.
Right? It's very tight and it's very melodic and a lot of things going on. And
it flows.
And you're just eating out of his nose while doing it.
It flows. And that's the thing I liked, the way it flowed. And I've tried to, in my own time, in my own solos in songs, tried to do the same. Is it has to flow from one. You can't like finish a melodic passage and then suddenly I'm shredding. It has to work its way in to the shred or out.
But does flowing also mean like I should not perform on top of my game, but you know, because if you look at Nuno Bettencourt, you see he has some leftover, right? I mean, do you understand what I mean? Like,
it can either start on fire and then mellow out, or it can start mellow and then go on fire. It has to have the peak and the trough, because it's like watching a film. If a film was just action scenes all the way through, you get fed up of it after 20 minutes. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with guitar solos. They have to have this build up, tension and release. It's the same with songwriting. It has to have tension and release. Like, so one of the things I always feel with when I'm writing Tosca, tension and release has to make you feel and then give the excitement and then the mellow and stuff, so you can reset your ears and your feelings towards it and stuff. And every solo was like that for me with Extreme. So they all told a story.
So what did your father think when you were infected by the Nuno virus?
Well, he loved the Three Sides to Every Story album. His band tried to play Rest in Peace back in the day. They loved that song. So he used to put it on in the car before I started playing guitar. So he was already on board with Nuno and that side of it. But he would, I was talking about this with a friend, I can't remember who it was, the other day at NAMM, and it's just the way my dad supported me as a guitar player was really interesting, because he wasn't like, my son's talented, my son's going to be good at this. It was the opposite. He was just like, that was a little bit scrappy, that bit. He didn't play that very clean. You know, he'd be stood outside my room listening to me trying to play, and then he'd wait for me to stop, and he'd just like open the door and stick his head around and be like, that was a bit messy. You could tidy that up a little bit.
What did that do to you back then?
It annoyed me.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I'll show you.
Okay. But probably he saw that, right?
100%. Well, he's my dad. He knows what I'm like. He knows me. So he's like, that's going to make him want to do it properly. And
because it can make you insecure at the same time as well, right?
It could.
Yeah.
But I think he's my dad. He knows me. It's actually his birthday today.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah. And it made me reflect about that particular thing today, which is quite poignant for this conversation. Just in that that was something that he got right with, like the music side of things. Never pushed, never was like, you are going to be really good. He actually didn't want me to be in music, because he was in music and he had a up and down experience.
What, did he tell you at one point, like, I don't want you to go into music, or between the lines?
He was sort of just saying, like, you know, like, it's hard. You might not make any money. You might not be successful. Like, it's important for you to have a degree in academia. You need a proper degree. You need proper qualifications so you can get a job if it doesn't work out. He's always about making sure there's a safety net. But when he realized, he might have something here kind of vibe, or like he's getting good at this, like, or he's committed, then he sort of nowadays it's all just pure support, and
Yeah,
I guess he's very proud. But back then, the way he used to get me to get better was like that. I remember this one time he came home and he was telling me about a friend of his son that was playing guitar, and it was an important lesson to learn because I said something like, "Oh, is he as good as me then?" kind of thing. So you're a cocky little teenager, and he sort of his demeanor completely changed, and he was like, you know, who do you think you are? That's not how you. That's the wrong attitude. You need to know that there are so many better guitar players in the world than you. Like, you'll never be the best. There's always going to be someone stronger, faster, better. Like, and you got to remember that. And it wasn't to put me down. It wasn't to make me feel crap. It was to give me perspective on the fact that you should always remain humble and that you should always just be focused on you and not care about anybody else.
That's a very interesting point. I mean,
I can't remember exactly how he said it, but in essence, that's what he was trying to get at.
Yeah, because let me think. It's not a match, right?
No.
Well, maybe with yourself sometimes, but like who cares, right? I mean, you just watch your watch. I'm going to do it because we're right in front of, right prior to a gig of yours.
Yeah.
And it's all face to face. It's sometimes a bit of a puzzle to get things done.
Yeah.
So, I also want to mention we're in Nijmegen, which is the town where Eddie Van Halen grew up. Did you listen to his music? I was wondering.
Much later on, as I mentioned, when I was younger, like I was only introduced to the things my dad was interested in, but later on in life, like, I've definitely checked it out. And it's
because Nuno is of course, if you talk to him, you'll talk about Eddie the whole time, right?
Yeah, listening to him and then hearing Van Halen is like, I understand why Nuno sounds the way he does and why he approaches guitar playing the way he does, which was nice.
Yeah.
But Nuno is like my Eddie to him. Yes. You know what I mean? And I think because of my upbringing musically, if that makes sense, so listening to bands like Extreme, blah, 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 because of that, I can't shift it round so that like Nuno will always be that to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it works like that.
Yeah.
And there's no other way. Because
that's what I was brought up idolizing, do you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I have. Yeah.
So maybe you're somebody's Eddie/Nuno by now.
I don't know about that. And if that is the case for anybody, then that's crazy. And it's obviously something that I guess you never truly comprehend. I can't imagine that.
But there must be guitar players that you inspired. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you get comments, and when you meet people and they tell you that, it's such a lovely thing. And all I can do is just be totally humbled and grateful by it, and still struggle to comprehend why. But at the same time, if someone's telling me that, then they obviously mean it, you know. So it's just a beautifully privileged and thankful position to be in, where you're just like, well, I'm very grateful that someone feels like that about the way I play guitar or music that I write. So
we're going towards the end of this conversation. We mentioned learning curve. How steep is it nowadays?
It's interesting nowadays. I think I kind of compartmentalize it. So like for the most of the years learning, I spent a lot of time transcribing with my ears. So that never goes away once you've developed it, you know? And so it's really, really helpful tool nowadays. If I want to learn something quick, I just use my ears and then I can find my place, and not even just to learn the specific note, but the way something's phrased, the feel used applied to it, the way the bends executed, if we're talking specifically guitar playing. That's all using your ears to identify that stuff. So it's well developed. I've developed that for a long time when I was younger. And it's also worth saying that the older I get, the more I'm pursuing my musical journey with guitar, with songwriting and stuff. So you tend less to look at other people's stuff. However, the other day I thought I'd have a go at learning some polyphia just to see, because that's like a modern thing people are doing now. Playing like that.
What happened?
Well, I learned, I thought I'll learn the riff, the main part to the song Goat, just because it's really popular and it sounds cool. So I was like, I wonder what that would be like. And I spent maybe a couple of hours, I'd say, on it, because I wanted to get it down, wanted to get it clean, make sure that I executed it the right way. And yeah, it was pretty difficult because it's a style of guitar playing that is completely not what I would do. It's very compartmentalized. Mm-hmm. It flows as a piece of music. With all respect, it doesn't flow as a piece to play, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And that's because it's different for me. Your hand is here, then it's here, then it's here, then it's here, then it's here, and it's doing something different on every part. And it doesn't feel like it flows aesthetically as far as your hand movements and the way to execute, because I feel like it was written externally and then applied to the guitar, if that makes sense.
But still, that's a lesson altogether as well,
100%.
Right? To feel that, okay, this is going on.
That's why I wanted to learn it, to see if you could take anything from it, not musically, but maybe just approach to parts and to the aesthetic behind writing a part.
Sometimes you'll take something out of it on an unconscious level, probably as well, right?
Which is the main reason for learning other people's things, I'd say. Yeah. I spent a lot of time as a younger learning, like I say, Extreme or Rage Against the Machine or whatever it was, The Darkness. I used to spend so much time learning this stuff, and a byproduct of it is you learn things without knowing it.
Yes. Yeah.
So
before we wrap this up, I want to ask you, what's the upcoming year going to look like? You mentioned Download Festival, which is a big festival.
So
what else?
On the band side of things, we're recording the album. I'm recording it in my studio, mixing it myself, producing it. So I'm very excited for that. It's a big task, and it's probably the first in this kind of thing. I did the single. It came out really well, so I'm going to try it again with the rest of the album. So that's like part of the year. The other part of the year is, working with my friends in Neural, like doing these clinic tours and stuff, getting to travel. So there'll be some travel there. And then the other part of the year, this is all mixed throughout the year, is develop. Like I feel this year for me personally, there's more emphasis on playing again compared to previous years. So I think I want to pursue guitar playing more. Look at maybe how I can utilize my channels like YouTube and Instagram. Maybe apply that more to, rather than gear demos and stuff. Maybe involve people in the process of writing and playing, and
more about you.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And maybe put together some more solo pieces, because I've been putting out singles for the last couple of years, instrumental guitar singles, and maybe I'll start compiling.
Make an album.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing something like that. I'd love to go out and tour with guys like Pliny and stuff. We've talked about it in the past, like when I've got enough material that fits in a band setting as a solo instrumentalist, then I'll jump on a tour with him. Maybe that might be fun.
I'll buy a ticket.
I think I'd love to go out and play as a guitarist, because I think people might not necessarily like Vower because it might not be their cup of tea. There will be people that like it. Obviously, we're playing tonight, sold out, which is awesome. But I'm well aware that a portion of my following on Instagram and YouTube probably don't like screamy music or heavy stuff.
And they're more into those
might
singles.
Like the leady stuff that I play.
Yeah.
And so it'd be really nice to go out and play for those people that like that.
You have some sort of luxury problem, I think, right? All these options.
Yeah, I just never want to feel like I want to explore all of it. Mm-hmm. I've always felt like that with my playing. I want to be able to play like a blues guy, lead shred guy, metal guy, funky jam band. I want to be able to do all of that, and it applies to everything in life. Where as a band musician, like I want to go out and play those kind of gigs, do this kind of gigs, like just do it all. Why not?
Best advice. Do it all.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time, Rabea Massaad.
I appreciate it, man.
I'm looking forward to the gig tonight.
Awesome. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. And listeners also, thanks for listening.
No worries.